Alrighty, this is part 2 of the cold calling boot camp. I just made that up. I don't know. We're just going to go through a cold call framework. So, like I said in the last video about general cold calling principles, I'm not really a huge fan of a cold call script per se. Rather, I like to go by a framework. While it is important to know your first 10 seconds cold, and that is sort of a script, no two cold calls are going to be the same. You have to know how to be adaptable and fluid and go with the prospect and call an audible, so to speak, here and there. However, you do want to do it within the parameters of a framework, so you're not going off to Pluto or down to Venus, as Jordan Belfort would say, right? And so I'm going to teach you the cold calling framework I like to use. The first 10 seconds of the call is very structured, and then from there it's sort of a freestyle, which is going to be a whole nother video in just the freestyle. So really, I think here we're going to spend most of our time talking about the first 10 seconds or so of the call. So the first thing in the cold call is the opener. So when a prospect picks up the phone after you've been dialing and you've been getting voicemail after voicemail, they finally pick up and you get that feeling of excitement and nervousness in one instant. What do you say when they first pick up the phone? We're going to talk about that. The next thing we're going to speak about is the reason for the call. The reason I'm calling you is when a prospect answers the phone, they're wondering, who are you? Why are you calling me? Why should I care? So you have to have a good reason for the call. The next thing is your qualifying question. This is probably one of the most important things you can do on a cold call to make it successful. It's definitely up there, top 3, and this should go along with your reason for the call. This is how you spark conversation, how you draw out the pain, and get them to take a meeting. Within that conversation, there's going to be objections. I'm busy, I'm in a meeting, we already do this, we're fine right now, we don't have any budget. You're going to get a lot of objections, and so we're going to go through in a whole different video objections you're going to hear and how to overcome those objections. I'm going to give you a framework to overcome objections, along with specific objections I hear often and what I say to power through, along with even examples of me doing this on the phone. And lastly, the call to action, aka the CTA. This is, again, very important. In the fundamentals video I just recorded, we spoke about always making the ask. You always have to make the ask for time, and we're going to talk about how to make the ask at the end here. So let's get started with the opener. It actually does not need to be anything crazy. We said before, what you say is not as important as how you say it. So really, you just have to say who you are and match the prospect's tone. Say it with a smile, right? And go from there. Because the prospect is thinking, when they answer the phone, they're busy, they're about to go into a meeting. Sometimes they're actually about to go into a meeting. They have a proposal they're working on, whatever they're doing. When you call them out of the blue, right? Think about it. When you get a cold call, you answer the phone from an unknown number. You're wondering, who is this person? Why are they calling me? And why do I care? And if you don't find that out in the first 10 seconds, you're no longer listening. You're either waiting for them to stop talking so you can hang up the phone politely, or maybe you just hang up the phone off the bat. So you need to clearly communicate that you are a friend, you're someone trustworthy, and that you're an expert, all in like 10 seconds. And we're going to talk about how to do that. What I normally say is, hey John, it's Jacob from Serviceville. How's it going? Right? Which, this is probably controversial. A lot of people would say, never say this. This is the default cold calling line. You got to say, do you have 27 seconds for me to tell you, like some crazy opener, or is now a bad time? You can do whatever you want. I actually have been playing around with my opener. The thing is, though, what I want to communicate to you is that the opener doesn't actually matter that much. Like, I found that it doesn't really impact your success rates a ton. I really don't think you can go wrong with, hey John, it's Jacob from Serviceville. How's it going? Right? If you say it with a smile, meaning you actually make yourself smile so that they can hear you on the phone, and when they answer, they're going to say hello, or how's it? You can tell a lot about their personality and their receptiveness to the call by how they say hello. And after you say how's it going, if they say I'm doing well, how are you? You're actually almost guaranteed in at that point. They're going to be much more friendly when they say that, versus if they just say good, how can I help you, or good, right? Then you know that they're more standoffish. You got to get right to the point, get into it. But the point here is the opener doesn't really matter a ton. I think Gong.io did a study showing that statistically their best opener was, hey, prospect's name, it's your name from company name, how have you been? So in this case, hey John, it's Jacob from Serviceville, how have you been? That's like, the opener's fine. Just say that, you're good. Say it with a smile, match your tonality, and then listen to how they answer. And you can learn a ton about the prospect just by their tonality on the phone when they respond back to you. So the next part of the call is, once they say, I'm good, how are you, or whatever, this is one of the most important parts. The reason I'm calling you is, right? So we said the prospect wants to know who you are, which we answered, your name and your company, and then why you're calling and why do I care. This is where the reason for the call comes in. I like to work in the framework of the reason I'm calling you is, bam, insert 10-second relevant reason for the call / value proposition. Okay, so the reason I'm calling you is, you need to immediately tell them why you're calling and use an interesting hook or value proposition that resonates with your target persona. It's usually good to start with an observation or some sort of relevant thing that you know that they're probably thinking about. So if you can do this and keep it short within 10 seconds or so, then you're in the clear. I'm going to give you actual examples of reasons for the call that I use for Service Bell that have been working well. The very first thing that I would say is, the reason I'm calling you is, I know salespeople want to call their leads back before they lose interest, or something like that. I think I said, I know it's important for salespeople to call their leads back quickly before they lose interest, and Service Bell helps you call your leads at the peak of their interest, which is while they're actively on your website. So I'm just curious to know how you guys are currently handling inbound lead response right now. I've actually since tweaked that. I have a bit more of a playful opener now, but that's what I used for a while, and it worked pretty well. I just gave them a quick reason for the call, a quick observation. I know people like you deal with X. You could say, the reason for the call is I just spoke to another sales leader, and they told me this, right? You just want to give them a quick reason for the call and tie it into your qualification question. So the reason for the call should be relevant to them, to their persona, to the account. It could be an observation you made about them. It could just be a quick value prop, whatever. And then you need to tie it into, a value proposition. 10 seconds, quick, tight value proposition, how you solve their problem. Make it concise. Know it cold so you can say it as if it's not scripted. And make it relevant to the question you're going to ask, which is actually the most important part. This little snippet right here, the reason for the call and the qualifying question, this is the most important part of the cold call. It's your first 10 seconds. It's how you make it relevant and then get them talking. So just to summarize, opener, hey, how's it going? Great, how are you? Thanks, I'm good. When you're more advanced, you can get more playful with it, but we'll keep it simple for now. Great, the reason I'm calling you is quick value prop, and then hook that into your qualifying question. So what is a qualifying question? Well, first, I want to take a quick step back and talk about what we're actually doing on the cold call. This weird picture right here is what I found on Google when I searched take a step back in Google Images, this arrow with the feet. So bear with me. It's supposed to be not, I don't know what it's supposed to be, whatever. We're going to keep going through. So let's take a step back and think about the difference between outbound prospecting versus inbound, okay? And this is going to, I think, help you understand the importance of the value prop you're delivering and the qualifying question that you're asking. So what's inbound? Inbound is when the prospect is problem aware, they're solution aware, and they're you aware, so to speak. What does this mean? If someone is having trouble converting their inbound leads, they know that they're not getting enough pipeline, they know they have a problem with MQL to SQL conversion rates, they're problem aware, right? They have a pain. So much so that it might be giving them anxiety about not hitting quota, maybe losing their job, maybe not getting the promotion they want. So now they have an actual problem, they have a pain. So now they're going to start looking things up. They're going to start Googling around how to improve conversion rates, this, and this, etc. And they might find blog posts or YouTube videos or podcasts about conversion rate optimization, buying a live chat tool. Whatever it is, they're going to start understanding more and more how to solve this problem. They're going to do a lot of research. And eventually they're going to decide on one solution that they think is going to be the one for them. Could be a live chat tool, for example. So now they know they have a problem with inbound conversion. They know that they have a solution in mind, which is a live chat tool, and something may happen where their boss might say, we have to fix this now or whatever. It's going to trigger them to take action and actually look you up, look for actual providers to buy a live chat tool. So by the time they hit your site, in this case Service Bell, they already know they have a problem with inbound conversion. They know they need to buy a live chat tool, and they've found your website. So when they fill out the contact form, they're already juiced up. They've done all the research themselves. They know they have a problem. They're a buyer in heat, right? They're ready to buy. When they get on the phone with you, they're ready to buy. That's why inbound sales move a lot faster, because the prospect has a clear pain. They know they want to buy from you, most likely, or through other people. They're ready to go. They're in pain. It's a lot easier to close an inbound deal. Outbound, on the other hand, is usually very different. Unless you cold call somebody who says, oh, we were just looking for a live chat tool, which does happen once in a while. In that case, it's going to be a pretty easy outbound sale. But generally speaking, the prospect is not in the buying cycle. They're just going about their everyday life, and they might be problem aware. They might know that they have a problem hitting pipeline, or they might know that they have a problem with lead response, but they're not solution aware or you aware, meaning they have not yet gone through the process of searching for a solution or engaging vendors, because the pain is not in their minds large enough to make them take action. So your job as an outbound salesperson is to really understand the problem that they're going through and pull it out of them, meaning you have to know the problems that they're having better than they know themselves, and ask them questions that make them think about that problem on the phone in that moment, right? So if you go to the doctor for a checkup, right? Let's say you've been having issues, maybe you're getting tired very often, right? And the doctor asks you a question like, how are your energy levels, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon? And then you might think, I have been getting kind of sleepy, right? And they might start asking you more and more questions, only for you to find out that you have a condition that's making you tired, that you don't have energy to keep working. When you get home from work, you don't have energy to spend time with your wife or your kids. And you're going to start going down this path of realizing that you have a problem with energy levels due to some disease or some diet issue or exercise issue. And now they can say, well, do you want to fix this problem? You're going to say, yeah, of course I want more energy. And then they can sell you a therapy or a pill or whatever. When you went to the doctor, though, you were problem aware. You knew you had this issue with getting sleepy, but you weren't so aware that you started doing research to really figure it out. But the doctor knew your problem better than you knew it yourself, and they asked you a series of questions to kind of walk you down this path of going deeper and deeper into the problem and the impact of the problem, not having enough time for family. Those are things that are going to motivate you to take action. So why am I saying all this? When you're cold calling somebody, they're in this state of going about their day. They haven't started researching you yet, but they probably do have a problem. And if you know how to ask the right questions, you can find prospects with that problem and you can get them hooked in. Not every prospect you call is going to have this problem, but if you know what questions to ask, you will find people that have this problem. You will start conversations that are relevant to this problem, and that's how you sell them on the first meeting with our trusty sales guy, Michael, over here, who happens to be to my left, who can then move the deal forward, right? So that's what your job is on the cold call. Your job on the cold call is to draw out the pain, a micro pain that's just strong enough for them to take a meeting with you. And that's where the qualifying question comes in. It's an open-ended how or what question that's designed to get them talking about their current state and makes them think about the problem that they have right now. Meaning, you can't just ask, hey, do you want to buy X, Y, and Z? That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is we're asking a question like the doctor asked that is like, how are your energy levels around 2 o'clock in the afternoon? And if you go, oh man, I really get tired around that time, I'm getting sleepy, now you're starting to think about the problem. And based on the response, oh, you're getting sleepy, what about this? Are you eating this kind of food or that kind of food? Are you exercising? You can keep asking more questions and get them deeper and deeper and deeper down into this thought process of pain. You're drawing out the pain from within them, and you can use that momentum to continue the conversation, build interest, and make the ask. That's how you keep people on the phone for 5-10 minutes. Really, the ideal time is probably 3 to 5 minutes for a cold call and have them book the meeting. So, for example, with lead response, lead generation, you can ask, how are you currently making sure? Well, if the going back to the opening question, right? If the opening reason for the call is something like this, where you say, the reason I'm calling you is I know it's important for salespeople to call their leads back quickly before they lose interest. Service Bell helps you call your leads back at the peak of their interest so you can catch them while they're still interested, so that they'll answer your calls more often and book more meetings. Right? I just told you why I'm calling. Now I could ask a question that gets you thinking about your problem. If I know your problem is you don't respond to leads fast enough, you get a lot of inbound leads, but most of them don't book a meeting, you could say something like, how are you currently making sure you respond to inbound leads quickly so that they don't slip through the cracks? Something like that. That question is going to make them think about their inbound lead response, the gap between their leads and their opportunities. And if they have a problem with that, they're going to speak about it. Or maybe they're going to say, oh, we already have software for this. We already have software for that. Great. You can latch onto that and say, oh, awesome. What software do you have? What are you currently doing right now? And you get them talking about their current state, and you get them talking about their pains. And then you can leverage that into a conversation around booking a meeting to buy from you. But that's where the qualification question starts. That's how you open the call. All of this, the last 15 minutes of me talking to you about this all happens in about 15 to 20 seconds. And I'm going to give you actual call examples and actual scripts to use that we're using. But this is generally how a cold call works. And once you ask the qualifying question, once you give them the hook and the qualifying question, they're going to start talking, and now you have to go into the art of the cold call, which is continuing a conversation with the cold prospect, labeling their emotions, mirroring them to get them to keep talking, asking the right how and what questions to pull out pain, overcoming objections, building interest, and eventually making the ask. But that's a whole video in and of itself. So I'm going to end here. This is how you run the first 20 seconds of a cold call in general, and we're going to make another video talking about the actual script and talk tracks for service bell calls, for service bell cold calls, that is. And then once you get to this point, I'll give you some lessons on overcoming objections, moving the conversation forward in this freestyle sort of zone, and kind of navigating through this path to make the ask and book the meeting. Hope this helps. See you in the next one. Bye.